Imagine standing on the edge of a void. Not a cliff, not a canyon, a void. So enormous, it generates its own weather system. A place so deep that sound itself gets lost before reaching the bottom. These are not legends. These are not movies. These are real places on this planet right now. And several of them are completely off limits to the public. Before we go in, do me one quick favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because here at the Pivot Files, we go where most channels won't. Today, we are going underground. From a crater in Siberia that locals call the Gateway to Hell, to a Soviet borehole sealed shut after engineers claimed to have heard something inside. Something that had no right to be there. These are the most dangerous holes on Earth, and the science behind them is stranger than any fiction. We begin in China, Fengji County, Chongqing Province. This is the Shaojai Tiankang, which translates, simply, as the Heavenly Pit. And when you see it, you understand why. It drops 662 meters straight down. Here's how to picture that. The Eiffel Tower is 330 meters tall. You could stack 2 of them inside this hole and still not reach the rim. For centuries, locals believed that anything falling in simply ceased to exist. No wreckage, no remains, nothing. So in 1994, scientists finally went down, and what they found was more extraordinary than the legend. At the very base of the pit, buried beneath millions of years of limestone, runs a fully active underground river, 8.5 kilometers long. A complete hidden ecosystem, untouched by sunlight, thriving in total darkness. Over 1,200 plant species, rare clouded leopards, ancient ginkgo trees that have no business being down there. Anything that falls into the heavenly pit doesn't vanish. It enters a world that existed long before we did. We go to Siberia, the Sakha Republic, northeastern Russia, one of the coldest inhabited places on the planet. The ground here has been frozen for hundreds of thousands of years. Or rather, it was. This is the Batagaika crater, a megaslump nearly a kilometer long, 800 meters wide, and growing every single year. The indigenous Yakut people have a name for it. They don't call it a crater. They don't call it a geological formation. They call it the Gateway to Hell. Not as metaphor, as warning. It started forming in the 1960s, after the surrounding forest was cleared for lumber. Without tree cover, the permafrost began to thaw, and the ground just collapsed. The sound of it, locals describe as a constant, low roar, like the earth groaning from somewhere deep inside itself. But here is what makes this truly extraordinary. The crater walls expose permafrost layers, up to 650,000 years old. In 2018, a 42,000-year-old foal of an extinct horse species emerged perfectly preserved from the head wall. Woolly rhinoceros remains, cave lions, ancient plant material that hasn't seen light since before modern humans existed. A frozen archive of prehistoric life being forcibly opened. The head wall retreats 12 meters per year. There is no mechanism to stop it. Blue Hole, Dahab, Egypt. Now we go to Egypt, the Sinai Peninsula, edge of the Red Sea. From the surface, it looks like paradise. Crystal clear water, warm temperatures, gentle current. It is genuinely beautiful. and it has killed somewhere between 130 and 200 divers. This is the Dahab Blue Hole, widely regarded as the most lethal dive site on the planet. There is a memorial wall nearby, with plaques from families who never got their person back. The plaques don't stop. Here is how it happens. The hole drops to 120 meters. At 55 meters down, a 26-meter tunnel called the Arch opens to the open ocean. That depth is well beyond the safe limit for recreational air diving. The pattern is the same, almost every time. Divers descend. They go deeper than they intended. Nitrogen narcosis sets in, and it feels exactly like being drunk. Judgment goes. Time distorts. The mind quietly stops working correctly. By the time a diver realizes they've gone too deep, their gas cannot bring them back to the surface safely. Some were found just meters from the exit, oxygen depleted, unable to find the opening above them in the dark. It doesn't kill with violence. It kills with clarity, with a silence so complete that danger feels like peace. South Andros Black Hole, Bahamas. Off the coast of Andros Island in the Bahamas, there is a patch of ocean that isn't blue. From the air, it appears as a perfectly circular area of absolute darkness against the turquoise sea surrounding it. You look at it, and something in your brain just says wrong. The reason lies 17.8 meters below the surface, a dense, 1 meter thick layer of purple sulfur bacteria, over 10 million cells in every single milliliter of water. This bacterial mass doesn't reflect sunlight, it absorbs it. That is why the water looks black from above. And these bacteria generate their own heat through chemical reactions. The temperature at that layer reaches up to 36 degrees Celsius. In open ocean water, that should be cool. Below that layer, zero oxygen, high hydrogen sulfide, a completely anoxic environment that mirrors the chemistry of early Earth, or possibly other planets. Scientists call it one of the most remarkable anaerobic ecosystems ever discovered. For a human diver without specialized equipment, contact with that subsurface layer would be fatal. Not through drama, through simple, irreversible chemistry. An alien world, less than 20 meters from the surface. Cenote Esqueleto, Yucatan, Mexico. Deep in the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, there is a cenote, a natural sinkhole connected to an ancient underwater cave system. Its name, translated from Spanish, is the skeleton. The name is earned. To even reach the water, you have to drop 10 meters through open air into a narrow pit. No ladder, just the drop. But the real danger is what comes after. The dive leads into a cave network of passages stretching for dozens of kilometers, with significant sections still completely uncharted. And the floor is covered in fine, powdery silt, accumulated over thousands of years. One fin kick, at the wrong angle, fills the water with a white, opaque cloud. Visibility drops to absolute zero in under 3 seconds. Divers have been recovered in this cave, fully equipped, oxygen depleted, found just meters from the surface exit, unable to locate the opening above them, in the dark. The rule in cave diving is absolute. If you lose the guideline, you stop. You do not swim, you do not search. Because movement in zero visibility burns oxygen and destroys spatial orientation at the same time. In the skeleton cenote, there is only the guideline and the dark. Kola Super Deep, Russia. The most dangerous hole on this entire list was not created by nature. It was created by ambition. 1970, the Soviet Union. One objective: drill deeper into the Earth's crust than any civilization had ever gone. They spent over 20 years trying. And what they built, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, reached a depth of 12,262 meters, deeper than the entire height of Mount Everest above sea level. At that depth, temperature exceeded 180 degrees Celsius. The rock stopped behaving like rock. Under that heat, under that pressure, it began flowing like plastic. Further drilling became physically impossible. The project ended, partly because of the physics, and partly because the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, and the funding simply evaporated. The borehole was sealed with a welded steel cap in 2008. The facility around it, abandoned. A rusted cap sitting in a ghost town in the Russian Arctic. But here is what is documented. 12 kilometers beneath your feet, right now, the Earth is a furnace. And after 20 years of effort, with the most advanced drilling technology of the 20th century, we barely scratched the surface. 6 holes. 6 places where the ground opens into something that defies easy explanation, whether by scale, by danger, or by what it reveals about the world beneath us. Which one do you want to know more about? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely read every single one. If this held your attention, hit like. It costs you nothing, and it means a lot for a channel like this. And if you're still here, click the video on screen right now. This has been The Pivot Files. Stay curious. The surface is just the beginning.